If you want a Suzuki Jimny, I totally get that. This is a really cool car. I've owned a Jimny and I loved it, but I'm going to tell you in this review why it might not be the right car for you. G'day, I'm Matt and this is the Suzuki Jimny. It's a tiny, proper four-wheel drive that's here to offer something to people who want something that is both rugged but also relatively cheap. And as cool as it is, it's got some serious flaws. I'm going to tell you all about them in this review. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. Thanks so much for watching. If you are and you want to spread the word about this little community that we're building, I'd really appreciate it. Please do share this video, hit like and subscribe, all those things. It helps a lot. If you want a Suzuki Jimny and you haven't ordered one yet, well, you could miss out. Well, that might be a little bit extreme, but Suzuki Australia has just taken the unprecedented step to stop people from ordering the automatic version of this car. It's that popular. They can't keep up with the demand for the auto version. Now, you can get an auto, but only if you choose the top spec one, which is this one here. It's just called Jimny in most states of Australia, but Queensland calls it GLX for some reason. It gets nice things like LED headlights and alloy wheels and a touchscreen media system with a reversing camera and Apple CarPlay as well. If you choose the Jimny Lite, which is the less expensive version, you get halogen headlights, which aren't fantastic. You get steel wheels and you get a CD player and no touchscreen and no reversing camera and a few other things missing from the cabin as well. It'll save you $1,500 at least based on the list prices, which you'll see on your screen now. And yeah, they are correct, even though you might have seen much higher prices at dealerships or online. So if you order a Jimny and you're willing to wait, you will pay that list price. Now, obviously you've got to pay the on-road costs after that, but at least you won't be paying overs if you buy a demonstrator or maybe stock that is excess to needs for a dealership, for example, or maybe just someone who's trying to take advantage of the market. People are charging up to $10,000 over the list price for one of these things. It's that popular, but is it popular for a good reason? There really isn't any alternative to the Suzuki Jimny at this sort of price point. Nothing else offers the level of 4x4 capability that this does, and nothing else is really as cool or tiny as this car is either with that capability. Obviously, you could be looking at something like a Jeep Wrangler, for example. There's a 3-door version of that car that starts at $82,000. Which is way more than this. And there's also the Land Rover Defender 90, which starts at close to that same sort of money in the 80s. So yeah, this thing looks like a comparative bargain as a result of that. There's also a 5-door version of the Jimny coming later in 2023, we hope. That should bring a little bit more practicality to the whole car, and also it should also put it in a different space with other players in the market, maybe like that GWM Tank 300 that I've just done a review of. If you haven't seen it already, please do go and have a watch. It's a pretty interesting car. Quite a bit bigger than this though, more expensive too, but we don't know what the 5-door will cost just yet. Stay tuned, I will be doing a 5-door review when it comes. The reason you buy a Suzuki Jimny is because it's tiny, right? Well, that might be the reason, especially if you live in an urban area where tight parking spots are the only option for you. This thing is tiny. It's 3.7 meters or thereabouts, nose to tail. That is one of the smallest cars on the market in Australia today, if not the smallest. It has 4 seats, not 5. You wouldn't fit 5 people in this car. But like I said, there is a 5-door version coming, which will have 5 seats and a much bigger boot. Let's check out the boot of this one, because there's a bit to talk about. It's got a side swinging tailgate. Now, most big 4-wheel drives have that as well. So the spare tire stays out of the way when you are off-roading. It's an important consideration if you are going to go off-roading. You won't be able to go too far though, because you won't be able to fit much stuff in the back of the Jimny. There's only 85 litres of space. So to give you an idea, this very small backpack won't even fit behind the seats. Now, obviously, you're probably going to want to fold those seats down. And if you do that, you end up with a bit more space, but it means that you won't be able to take anyone anywhere with you unless they're sitting in the front passenger seat alongside you. The interior of the Jimny is built for purpose, let's put it that way. It is pretty basic in here. There is not a whole lot of luxury to be spoken about. I mean, unless you consider this touchscreen, which I think is now outdated. They've now got a bigger screen because they couldn't get the chips for this one. Maybe this one will come back. I hope it doesn't, because it's not actually very good. Sometimes it'll connect to your phone, other times it won't. Sometimes it'll respond to touch, other times it won't. And it also doesn't have a volume dial or tuning dial. I find it really annoying. Now, there's other things you should know about in here, obviously. The window switches aren't on the doors because the doors are really skinny. The window switches are down here. There's also a hill descent control switch and a traction control switch as well. You've got single zone climate control air conditioning on this spec. The lower spec model has just a manual air conditioning setup. The steering wheel is a nice leather wheel. It's not too bad. The controls are pretty logical. Everything is basically well laid out, but just very basic. You've got things that you will need if you do a lot of off-roading. There's a big grab handle here for the passenger, but there's no grab handle for the driver to get in and out, or for the passenger for that matter either. Now, the seats are pretty comfortable. They're quite small, but comfortable enough. They offer a decent amount of adjustment. Speaking of adjustment, the steering wheel goes up and down very noisily, doesn't go in and out. So if you're gangly, you might find that you won't be able to find the right driving position for you. But otherwise, the space in here isn't too bad for a taller occupant. Now, let's talk about storage. There's a small little cubby down here. There's two cup holders down here, but one of the most popular modifications for the Jimny this generation is this thing that you can buy on Wish or, you know, those internet sites that have really cheap stuff. You can plug in an armrest here that goes into those cup holders. Then you get an armrest and it has another two cup holders and a USB port. I'll show that on the screen now. I think that could be one of the smartest modifications you can make if you are buying a new generation Jimny. It just makes it so much more livable. And speaking of livable, the back seat isn't. I'm going to show you that now. The back seat of the Jimny is probably better suited to people that are very small because it's quite narrow. So my hip is basically sitting on this hard plastic section next to my leg, and I sat down on it quite hard and it hurt my bum. It's not very comfy. So if you do have two bigger occupants in the back, they will be squished. There's no doubt about that. But if you are someone who has kids, you can fit two child seats back here if you need to. There are ISOFIX points on both seats and top tether points that are latched down into the boot. So they do get in the way if you are planning to use the boot as well as have a child seat in. I'll show you a shot of that now. That does really limit the usability of this car even more when it comes to, you know, running around with a child seat in the back. But let me just say that it is okay for someone my size for a short period of time. 182 centimeters, 6 foot tall. This seat is set for about my driving position. I've got lots of knee room, a decent amount of foot room, and decent headroom as well. There's actually a pretty good amount of space nose to tail in here for occupants. It's just the getting in and out that can be a limiting factor, and also the width of the back seat base in particular. Not much storage back here. There's one map pocket. That's it. And there's no where to really rest your arms unless you like to be cozy and friendly with your neighbor in the back seat. Should also mention that the driver's seat doesn't have a quick release, so you can get in and out of that side of the car very easily. Only the passenger seat does. At this point in time, every single version of the Jimny sold in Australia comes with a 1.5 litre 4-cylinder engine. It's not turbocharged and it's not a firecracker. You can see the outputs on your screen now. There's the choice of a 5-speed manual or a 4-speed automatic. At the moment, the automatic is only available in the top spec version. It's a bit of a dud, but people love automatics, so that's what they're ordering. And that's why they've stopped people from ordering it, because there's so many people who want an automatic version of this car. Now, every single version comes with 4-wheel drive, as you'd expect, and it's got a low range transfer case as well. This video was never supposed to be about the off-road capabilities and limitations of the Jimny. There are plenty of other YouTubers who have shown just what this thing is or isn't capable of. I've actually been in a few different videos involving the Jimny myself. It is very good off-road, but we're not going off-road in this review. If you do want to see off-road footage of a Jimny climbing up a craggy hill, you can do that. You know how to use YouTube. And is it decent to live with when you're not off-roading? It's okay. I mean, if it's your only car, you might get sick of it pretty quickly. You've really always got to be on when you're driving this car. There is no cruisy relaxing to be done even on the highway. In fact, on the highway, it's arguably even harder work because it's never feeling like it's just effortlessly progressing along the road. If you're maybe on the freeway, you might find yourself in fifth and not ready to overtake because this doesn't have the most torque, this engine. You've really got to row through the gears to get the most out of it. It's not fast. It's not supposed to be fast, but it's not fast. The 5-speed manual, yep, it's not the greatest shift action in the world, but you do get used to the clutch take-up and the shift movement. I've only stalled it 3 times so far. You are always moving around in this car. The suspension is designed for off-roading and you do sort of wobble and bobble through bumpy sections of road. And if that's not for you, then you might hate this car. But the steering is pretty accurate. It is a little bit slow. It does take a little bit more turning than you might expect when you go through corners. But again, it's designed for off-roading. Now, there won't be an off-road part of this review. The last time I drove a Jimny off-road, things went very wrong. If you want to see what happened, let's try and get this video to, let's say, 200,000 views. If we hit 200,000 views on this video, I'll show you what happened the last time I drove a Jimny. And it was actually the same spec as this, manual, this color. Yeah, this brings back bad memories. There are 2 different stories to tell when it comes to the Jimny, the auto one and the manual one when it comes to efficiency. 6.9 litres per 100 Ks for the automatic. That's the official combined cycle fuel consumption figure, which is what you should achieve across a mix of on-road driving, no off-roading included. And manual, 6.4 litres per 100, so half a litre better. On your screen now, you'll see what I've seen during my time in this Jimny in particular. And that, again, didn't include any off-road driving at all. Do you reckon that's good enough? Let me know in the comments. If you're a fan of high safety ratings, this isn't going to be the car for you because the Jimny scored a 3-star ANCAP safety rating back in 2018 and the criteria has only gotten stricter since then. So this isn't the safest car on the road, but it does still have some of the high-tech stuff that you probably want these days, including autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian detection, which is a good thing, and there's a lane departure warning system, but no active lane keeping, so it won't steer you back into your lane. If you've seen some of my other videos, you probably know that I'm actually pretty okay with that. There's nothing like blind spot monitoring or rear cross traffic alert, and you only get a reversing camera if you choose the top spec version. Suzuki offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, which is the standard in Australia these days for mainstream brands. So that's not too bad. There's also a 5-year cap price servicing plan, which is actually capped at 100,000 Ks, which seems a bit odd because the intervals are every 12 months or 15,000 Ks. So you can't actually get to that 100,000 Ks exactly based on 15s. I'm good at maths, trust me. The average service price over that 5-year period though is going to be about $330 a go, which isn't too bad. I could totally see why so many people think that the Suzuki Jimny is the right car for them. It's cool, it's interesting, and there are plenty of them out there on the road now. So that makes it not necessarily as exciting, but it does mean that there is a bit of a community building around these little cars. That could be right for you, but it's not going to be right for you if you want the latest in advanced safety technology, if that matters to you, if you want space inside the cabin or in the boot, then you're probably going to have to wait for the 5-door model. I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be a bit of a game changer. So stay tuned. I will be doing a review on that soon. But as it is, the 3-door Jimny is still very cool, just may not be right for everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you're enjoying what you're seeing so far. Please do like and subscribe. Help us build this community. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've got a lot more cool stuff coming. Thanks.